And growing up, I was like, well, I must be straight because I do have an attraction to men. So I must be straight.
Hmm.
Even though I was like, well, I have the same attraction to women. There we go.
Hi, Lucy. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I appreciate you doing this.
Oh, of course. Happy to be here.
Awesome. Awesome.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, my name's Adam, and this is about you and your journey in music. And we'll talk about the new song and how you got to where you are now.
Cool, cool. Well, it's a beautiful day here in Los Angeles.
And there's some emergencies
And I
happening.
do, yes, and I do apologize for sirens.
It's all good.
Unfortunately, my mic has not blocked them out successfully, but
It's all good. It's okay. I
yeah.
did see what I thought was cool is that you're from Temecula.
Yes, I grew up just outside of Temecula.
Okay.
Are
I'm
you
from San
familiar?
Diego. Yeah, I'm from San Diego, so I know
Oh,
Temecula
awesome.
very, very well.
Yeah. Oh, very good. What part of
Yeah.
San Diego?
I lived in North County. I grew up in
Okay.
Penasquitos area and like Rancho
Hmm.
Bernardo area. So we're what, like 30-ish minutes, maybe not
Yeah.
even from Temecula.
Oh,
Super
definitely.
close.
Just
Would you?
right off that freeway.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
15 that would just take you like basically to doesn't it? I think it goes to
Everywhere.
Vegas. I mean, it just goes for
Mexico.
like, yeah, it goes so far. Yeah, from
Yeah.
Mexico essentially through yeah, but that's so cool that you're from Temecula. So I want to talk to you about that a little bit, and then obviously, like I
Sure.
said, the new song. I'm in Nashville now, though. We moved about a year and some months ago.
Oh,
Out,
wonderful.
but yeah, I love LA. I lived in San Francisco for a while, and it's cool that you're there.
That's great. Every city has something, so different. And
Hmm.
I looked at Nashville as well because I love the feeling of Nashville and the
It's such a cool
songwriters.
city. Yeah. I mean, it has kind of a, I guess, a little Temecula feel to it in the sense of it's like kind of a big,
It does.
spacious place with
Yeah.
farms and everything else.
Hmm.
Not as many wineries. I think there's only one pretty big winery. Maybe I'm wrong,
Oh,
but who
yeah,
knows?
that's true.
But
That's
Temecula
true.
is just like stacked with wineries.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
it's pretty crazy now.
well, okay, so grew up in Temecula. Tell me about that a little bit. I mean, would you come down to San Diego quite a bit, or go up to LA, or I guess Orange County would be closer?
Once in a while, my grandma lived out near Orange County, so that was the extent of it. But growing up outside of Temecula, on a dirt road on a small family farm, it we really were homebodies, and we liked it.
Hmm.
Um, and we were still like 30 minutes from the nearest grocery store, so
Oh, so
we
you
would.
live like way out in Temecula, or like
Yeah,
what
so
part?
more
Okay,
like
because
more like the French Valley area behind the wineries.
like out
Uh,
towards like if you're going to like towards the 10, like almost if you're going to Palm Springs
yeah,
area,
like
or
if you were
okay,
leaving Temecula,
right, okay.
we're on the way out.
So you're like Riverside County.
Yeah, well,
Okay,
just about. Yeah,
okay,
Winchester area.
very cool. Okay, so you had your
Yeah,
family farm out there as well.
yeah. Just we had a goat and chickens and a really beautiful garden that my parents would grow vegetables from, and it was so nice, and it felt so far removed from any kind of city
Hmm.
that when I did eventually come to LA, it was quite a shock.
Oh,
Because
sure.
Temecula in itself was a big city to me with a big mall and lots of traffic.
Yeah, and it grew. I mean, over the years,
Yeah,
I don't know what years you lived there, but like it blew up there in like the
yeah.
early late 90s, early 2000s. It started to really build out.
Yeah, they just kept building. I remember just like watching all the dirt roads around us get paved and all these like shopping mall outlets were popping up. And it
You
was
guys got an In and
interesting.
Out burger. I remember that. That was a big
Yeah,
deal.
that was a very big deal. That was a very big deal. One of the wins, I would say.
Sure. But yeah,
Yeah.
wow. So going to school, like, did you go to school close by? I mean, you said 30 minutes to a grocery store. Like, how far was it to get to school?
Right, so it was another 30 minutes in the morning on the bus, on the school bus.
Okay.
And we were the first stop, of course, because we were the furthest out from town. So they
Hmm.
start furthest out and work their way in on the buses. And so I had to be up very, very early. Very early. Like you get picked up at 6 in the morning to get to school by 7 something. Um, it was not my favorite thing, I will say. I actually loved school, but waking up early is one of my least favorite things.
Yeah, I can
Squirrel.
get behind that for sure.
That might just be a musician, being lazy in the morning. But I've always
Yeah,
wanted to be a morning person. It's
it's
just
so hard.
not working out.
I have two kids, and it wasn't until them. Like I even now, I'm like, like when are you gonna get old enough to like so I could
Mm-hmm.
just sleep?
Oh,
It's in. I mean, my youngest one's 6, so he still gets me up at like before 7. So it's like not a
oh
thing that which has
gosh.
changed anytime soon. But
Yeah.
you have to kind of adapt to be a morning person in a sense. But it's so hard for me. Like that's the
Oh
worst.
yeah. Oh,
Um,
definitely. Yeah, I've been. This is not really. You have actual humans. I have a foster dog at the moment that's been waking
oh,
me up.
to
Yes,
go to the bathroom
and
and all that fun stuff.
yeah, yeah, not even early, like 8, and I'm like, oh, this is a routine. This
Sure.
is great.
Oh, wow. Well, how did you
Yeah,
get into music?
I got into music. Honestly, I was having a really hard time in school. I was studying to become, a psychologist, a therapist. I really thought that was the direction I was going to go. And then some life events happened. We lost some family members. I was struggling with depression, and
Mhm.
I found a piano on the campus of the school, and I just would kind of wander in after my classes and start playing.
Was this in high
Um,
school or college?
this is
Sorry.
college. Yeah.
Okay.
So I went to college and I was very, very set on an academic career. I wanted to become a professor and be
So
a
prior to
psychologist
that, you
there.
weren't songwriting or playing any instrument?
No, no, my dad
Oh,
had taught
wow.
me 3 chords, CGE or something
Hmm.
like that, when I was 10. And I had those 3 chords and I played everything I could with those 3 chords in high school, but never in front of people. It was always
Okay.
at home in my bedroom,
And were you
playing.
writing at all, or was it just like I'm gonna play the whatever songs I could find that have CGE in it? We're
Exactly. I
gonna
was
run with
playing
it.
Green Day. I
Okay.
was
Yeah, yeah,
doing
yeah. All the punk
covers.
songs that
In
have three
between
chords.
homework. Yep,
Okay.
exactly. Exactly. The only time I ever wrote a song before that was in high school for like an English writing creative contest.
Oh, okay.
So there were a few different categories, and I was really good at winning the creative writing for like poetry. And then one year I was like, maybe we'll try music, which was basically just reading a poem and then playing guitar underneath
Right.
it. But I consider that a song
It
looking
is a
back.
song. Isn't that
I
essentially what a song? I mean, a lot of
think that's what
song
it was. It might
is.
not have been singing, but
But still, like, did you? Okay, well, now I'm curious. Did you win?
no. So
Oh.
I look back and I think, oh, I wonder if this is why I didn't go into music because I really like being good at things, like most people.
Mhm.
And I got like third place, but then I found out there were only 3 entries in the music
I was gonna
category,
say
and so
third sounds good.
I know at first I was excited, and I think that really, as an artist, it's you're not supposed to look for that external validation, but sometimes it's so
Well, you
uh,
need it to carry on,
hard.
right?
Yeah,
I mean, if
yeah,
you keep
exactly.
you just never got any validation behind what you were trying to do, you probably, I mean, I don't know who would continue on. I mean, maybe somebody would, but it's like, how hard would that be if like you're at a point where it's like no one's latching onto anything. Like, do I
Yeah,
continue this way, or
yeah,
that's a difficult spot to be in.
absolutely. Yeah, sometimes you just need a little bit, a cheerleader to say, "Go
Right.
for it,"
Yeah,
or
or some
give you B
moment
plus,
that'll pick you
something
back
like
up a
that.
little bit. Sure, sure.
Yeah,
So from
yeah,
that at that time, you were like, okay, this isn't my thing.
right. I think
Okay,
I was very much I was driven by my grades, and uh, you know, something that's really hard for me now is to, put out a song and not know is this a good song or
hmm
not. But at school you get, this grading system, and I was very much like, okay, I must be good at this if I got this grade. I must not pursue this if I'm not doing well. And it was
sure.
this mentality that kind of kept me stuck. Because of course you can always learn to do better. Say I was bad at chemistry, which is true. Um, if I really liked it, I could have, gotten a tutor or tried something different or explored it in a different way.
hmm
But I think with music, I was like, oh, I'll leave this to the creative people. I'll leave it to the professionals. And I just didn't revisit it until college when I was just truly overwhelmed.
So in college, well, where did you go to college, if you don't mind me asking, or if you don't want to answer,
Santa
that's fine.
Barbara, UC Santa Barbara.
Oh, cool.
Great
So
school, yeah.
yeah, did you live up in Isla Vista?
I did.
Oh, that's a fun
What a
town.
place.
Oh yeah.
What a
What a
world.
place that pretty much summed it up there.
Hmm.
Oh man, I remember I got I'm kind of a I don't drink anymore, but when I was drinking, I remember walking out of a house and I didn't realize that you have to flip the cup over. Like, did you know that were you like in ever going out I mean, there was like a
Yeah.
party on every
You
street in
couldn't,
Isla
if
Vista.
you
Yeah.
walked to class, you would pass about 3 parties. It was,
Right. So I
yeah.
guess when you walk outside, you have to have your cup flipped upside down. Like if you're going from one
Yes.
party to another party. And I didn't know that. So I just walk out. I literally was
No.
like one step onto the grass of the party. Like I wasn't even yet to the sidewalk. And there was a cop like busted. I'm like I got a ticket. I mean, it wasn't like I didn't have to go, it wasn't like a whole elaborate like arrest thing, but it was right. No, not by any means. I mean, it's been so many years now. But it was just like one of those things where I'm like, oh my friend's like, how did you not know that? I'm like, how would I know this like unwritten rule to Isla Vista if I don't live here?
Yeah. I think they kind of teach the freshmen that when you walk in.
Yeah, they're like, here's a cup. Learn how to flip it upside down before you walk out of each party. Yep. Like it's just so crazy. Well, so you live there. That's quite a scene. There's a lot of bands that are going through playing different houses and stuff. I'm sure you saw quite a bit of music there.
Definitely, and that's really where I was inspired. My brother came up and said, "Let's go to this concert," and I'd never heard of this artist. It was just in a tiny garage of someone's house, and it was Kimya Dawson, who is a wonderful artist and singer-songwriter. Did most of the soundtrack to Juno. That's where most people recognize her.
Exactly.
And I was so inspired by this performance because there were maybe 50 college kids in there, all sitting on the ground, crisscross applesauce, just silent, just being so respectful, and just this woman just playing songs and telling stories. And it wasn't what I was used to seeing when I go to concerts. It wasn't this huge voice. It wasn't a diva. It wasn't, Billy Joe Armstrong all over a stage.
Right.
It was just like this really comforting community and storytelling. And I think that really inspired me to start playing music and eventually start songwriting.
Okay. So after seeing that show, and then you said you were like tinkering around on the piano, like at school, like after classes and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Was this around the same time, or was this after you had seen that performance?
This was after I'd seen that performance.
Okay.
Yeah, and I just lost my aunt had passed away, and I was just so upset, not just for losing her, but for what my dad was going through and her family. And I was in it was finals week, and I was just so upset, and the library was so busy, so I went to the music library, which I'd never been to. It was a much smaller library for classical students. And I just stepped in. I was like, can I study here? And they're like, sure. And then there was a whole aisle that said piano rooms. And I was like, what do you mean? There have been like dozens of pianos just sitting here in the middle of campus that I've never noticed. And so I walked in and just sat down and, cried over the piano. And then I felt better and I went back to studying. And that just felt really good. So I kept
And then you just kept doing that. And did you end up teaching yourself piano?
Yeah, so I knew basic chords from, I don't know how long we lasted in piano lessons as kids when I was about 5.
Okay,
so we learned
take lessons at one point?
Yeah, very briefly, maybe 6 months. I don't mean to interrupt. Can you hear there's a puppy chewing on something?
Yeah, but it's not distracting. Yeah.
Okay, well, I can just adjust the mic. I want to make sure it's, sorry.
No.
Much better. Okay. Sorry, I was just like, I hope you can't hear that.
I could hear something, but it didn't sound like a puppy chewing until you mentioned it. But it was like it was so faint that it didn't even matter.
Okay, good. Well, there's a puppy on the podcast who's very happy to be here.
Awesome. Well, we welcome the puppy. What's the puppy's name?
Puppy's name is Carrot.
Carrot. I like that.
The night before Easter. Very sweet, but definitely in the chewing stages of life. Okay. Yeah.
And then he's doing something else now.
Now he's upset that I took his toy away.
But so
he'll be fine.
Oh, good. That's funny. Sweet. Well,
Anyways.
no. So, you're in school at the piano playing,
Mhm.
just kind of, and then were you writing at that point, or after that moment you had, was it like, okay, you kind of got the bug and you wanted to keep going back into the music room?
I kept going back. Yeah, I kept going back, and it was, it was over time. I was
Hmm.
still very set on applying to grad schools and going that way. But I started going to more of those garage shows, and I just kept being more and more inspired, and I felt more inspired than I had been in any of the lectures, of course,
Hmm.
during college, which was really surprising to me. But I just felt this need to get up and do it myself. Definitely had stage fright. Definitely was terrified. But I
Hmm.
ended up Googling like open mic Santa Barbara, borrowing a car from someone. Because, of course, in Isla Vista, no one has a car. You just
Right.
walk and
You
bike
just walk it.
everywhere.
Yeah,
No
exactly.
need. But I borrowed a car to drive downtown, told no one about it because I was terrified.
Hmm.
And I just got up and did a Bob Dylan cover, with those three chords on a guitar that I
Wow.
also borrowed, just to see if I could do it, just to see if I didn't die if I did it. And after that, I was just like on a total high. Um,
What
I
Bob
was
Dylan
like,
song did you
let's do
play?
it. I did Don't Think Twice,
Okay.
you know.
Very cool.
A good one. That was the only one I was like, I feel like I know all the lyrics to this one. Sometimes I mess up
Right.
his lyrics. He's
Oh
got so
yeah,
many.
because his songs are very wordy. I mean,
They're
obviously he's
so wordy.
brilliant, but it's like yeah,
So
very
much
wordy.
detail. Yeah.
Exactly. Wow. Okay. So after that, did you you just did that to kind of see if you could play in front of people, and did you have your own songs at this point?
I did not have my own songs. That's why I did that cover. And I started at that point writing. So after the open mic, I started journaling a lot and then thinking, okay, we could maybe write a song. We could
Hmm.
maybe do something like Kimia Dawson where we just, speak from the heart and tell a story. Um, but I still didn't want to play it for anyone. But my roommate heard me playing it while he was studying one day. He just kind of heard me in the corner of the room as I was practicing. He goes, "That's really good. You should really do this." And I'm so grateful just for that little bit of
Yeah.
push because I
Back
just,
to the validation thing, right? I
yeah,
mean, for him to come in
that
and say,
little
"Hey,
bit.
like, yeah, that sounds really cool," then it's
It's like,
awesome. Like,
yeah,
yeah,
I don't sound terrible.
right, right.
Okay.
Okay.
Right. So that little push, led to another push, and it turned into me moving to Los Angeles instead of pursuing grad school. A place I never thought I would move to. LA always seemed intimidating and weird, honestly, as a
Mhm.
Southern Californian. LA
Right.
was like, ugh, I don't want to go to LA.
Yeah, that's
People are
funny.
fake and
Right, right.
anyway.
It's such a stigma of people that live in San Diego or the San Diego area of
Oh,
LA.
yeah. Yeah,
Somebody
definitely.
described it to me, I thought it was funny, but they called San Diego the cooler younger brother of LA. I was like,
Hmm.
that's such a funny like way to describe it.
That's very true. I feel like San Diego is much more comfortable with itself.
Right. It's just like the cooler younger brother
Yeah.
of Los Angeles.
Oh, it's so true.
But okay, so you moved to LA. You finished obviously at UC Santa Barbara, and do you tell your family like, "Hey, I know I just did school, and I was thinking about being a professor, psychiatrist, psychologist, and now I'm going to pursue music. I'm moving to Los Angeles."
I worded it a little differently because I was super anxious.
Right, but I mean,
And this had
is
been,
that essentially what you did? Like you bailed and just
yeah,
tried to pursue music in LA?
yeah. I basically said I want to take a little time off to travel before going to grad school, and I did. I got a little travel busking guitar, the Martin Traveler, the weird skinny one
Oh yeah, yeah.
that you can strap onto a backpack. And I went to Europe
Oh,
for a
you
couple
cool.
months, and I busked on the streets because I was like, no one here knows me. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
a weird American, anyways. This is like, I feel safe over here. I can sing in front of people here. And that kind of helped me build up a bit of that stage courage to sing in front of people. And then when I flew back, landed at LAX, and I found a friend's couch, and I just stayed. And I started looking for shows and jobs.
Sure.
Yeah.
So then you keep doing that for a bit of time, and then you end up putting a record. Like when do you get together and decide, I'm going to put this music out? Like when was that moment? Was that after you had gotten back home to Los Angeles?
Yes, so I had started working on songs on that European little tour, and I once I had about 6 songs,
Hmm.
I recorded them just on a home desktop computer. Not a great demo, but I did get them all. Maybe 4 or 5 instruments on each song. Just did it
Wow.
myself. Yeah, and then I was like, well, this is a terrible demo. Let's see if we can find. We're in Los Angeles. Let's find someone who can actually make this sound good. Um, but I started playing shows before I released the EP, so I was booking shows on Sunset Boulevard.
Uh-huh.
I was finding band members on Craigslist because I didn't know anyone in LA.
Right.
So
So you're
yeah,
playing out, and then is that demo you're saying like is that what became Little Spoon
yes,
later?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So that's
So
Little Spoon.
so did you take was that the demos or did you find somebody to record it?
I found someone to re-record.
Okay.
So very similar sound and instrumentation,
Hmm.
but a better quality than a bedroom recording that I was able to do at the time. Some people can make hit records in their bedroom. I
Right.
was
I mean,
not
especially
there.
over COVID, it's happened, right?
Oh
And
yeah,
and with TikTok, it's happened.
definitely, definitely.
So you put that album out, and then did I see that you were living on like a boat or of some sort for a while?
Yeah. So when
Was that
I when
around the
I
same
got
time or
back,
after?
that was around the same time. It was moving to LA, and then I would go down to um, the Long Beach area,
Hmm.
and my dad and his friend. So after my dad's sister passed away, he'd always wanted a sailboat. It was like a dream of his, and he worked really hard, and he'd been saving up. Um, and still, boats are very expensive.
Hmm.
And a friend of his, they went halvesies on a sailboat, and
Oh,
it was just kind of one of those things that I was really happy to see. After someone close to you passes away, you kind of rethink about what you want in life, and what have you been waiting for, what you've been working towards,
hmm,
and just seize the moment. And it was really great to see him and his friend get this sailboat. But they also had, they both had jobs, so they weren't there much. And so I would go down and kind of stay on the sailboat as a place to get away from LA
yeah,
because it was
brilliant.
a hard adjustment
Uh-huh.
moving to Los Angeles. So I would sneak off to this sailboat, and I was getting over a breakup as well that I
Hmm.
was just really frustrated with. It wasn't a sad breakup; it was just like, oh, I'm so mad at this person,
Hmm.
um, and that turned into the Little Spoon songs that
Oh,
I,
from the
yeah,
breakup.
uh huh. So some of those
Interesting.
feelings that I had started writing about turned into the full length Little Spoon EP when
Okay.
I got back to LA and really just sat and worked on them. Yeah.
And then when you put that album or put the EP out, do you stay playing in LA or were you trying to book shows outside of Southern California at that point?
A little of both. I did my release show at Hotel Cafe in
Oh,
Los
cool.
Angeles,
Mm-hmm.
and it was nice to see like, oh, I'd already built like an audience. I was able to, bring people to shows, and there was this really beautiful community happening. And it's hard to make your space in any new city, but it was really nice. I didn't think I'd be able to make a community in LA. It just felt like a
Right.
very different kind of
Well, it's kind of
place.
an intimidating environment to be in, right? I mean,
Yeah.
LA there's so many, everybody, like not everybody, but a massive amount of people move there to try to make it.
Mhm.
And you could just be one of the X million people trying to make like that's what I'm seeing here in Nashville too. It's so many people moving here. Just they try to move here to become a songwriter to get discovered or try to make it. And it's like there's just so many people. I mean,
Yeah.
to be one of a million plus people doing the same thing, that's could be very difficult.
Oh, definitely. And have you seen that? I feel like so many people are moving to Nashville. Have you noticed, like, are things getting busier? I know
Oh,
there's
it's
always been
insane.
traffic, but
No, it's
really?
insane now. Well, I've only been here for like a year and a few months. And when I moved here, my family, we moved here. We're both my wife and I are from San Diego. Only lived in California, and my kids were born in San Diego. And we moved here just to because it's a music town and other reasons. But we got here and like everybody we were talking to, like, oh, like you're from California, like you're like the 10 millionth person that I've talked to that's moved here from California. I'm like, what?
Oh,
And we didn't know that, but and then it started even more and more so now. So like, there's this whole like surge of people moving from like New York, California is probably the biggest one, and then like Illinois area. Like it's just like everyone's kind of going to Middle Tennessee of all places. It's so
Wow.
weird. Yeah.
Man,
Um,
I get it though, because when I'm out there, writing sessions,
yeah.
I'm like, "Oh, you have a house? You have a yard?
Right. I
You
know.
have
That's
yeah,
sold
you
it
have
for
a
me.
sidewalk?" Yeah. There's
Right.
just
It's just a
yeah.
totally different lifestyle, and if you live in the suburbs, which I do. I mean, if you lived in
Hmm.
the city, it's definitely a different vibe. But
Okay.
yeah, I live in the suburbs, but like I mean, we're not far from Nashville to be
Yeah.
transparent, but like it's like you can have space and like property, and you're not spending what you would in California to have like a you
It's
know
so crazy.
slice of something.
Hmm.
So,
Absolutely.
but it's changing here because of that, because people are moving here, and like Oracle's
Mhm.
coming here, and yeah, Amazon is here now, and
Oh,
like yeah,
wow.
there's a lot of big businesses that are moving to Tennessee too. So it's bringing more people and more jobs, which is
Mm.
great. But it's also you got to just raise everything
Oh
up.
man, yeah, all the prices go up.
Yeah,
How do you
exactly.
how do you feel that's affecting the songwriting community?
I don't, to be honest, that's a great question. I don't know directly because um it might be pricing people out, to be honest. Like that people that think or thought, maybe 2 years ago, like, oh, I'm gonna finish this and then I'm gonna move to Nashville. Or I'm gonna do this and then I'm gonna move to Nashville. But now it's like I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna have to move an hour outside of Nashville because it's just getting priced out everywhere, and it's just kind of and
Yeah.
I guess like I mean it's interesting to see how that is affecting everyone. But I look, I guess now, speaking of today and in general, like the housing market has kind of plateaued and it's almost like
Mhm.
dipping back down a little bit, so that could benefit. But I mean, if somebody was moving here or wanted to move here to do music and think that, oh well, it's less expensive than LA or New York, which it is, but it's not less expensive than maybe some other town that you come from that isn't necessarily a music city. Like if you came from Dallas, I'm sure you would be paying about the same. I mean, it's just
Mhm.
it's not much cheaper
Yeah.
than anywhere else.
Yeah.
So yeah, but that's a great question. I don't know directly how it would be affecting it, but I'm sure it has to have some effect just based on people being able to
Yeah.
live, especially if you're a new singer songwriter, a new writer trying to get a publishing deal. Like to live here, you would have to be able to, yeah, survive, right?
Right. Yeah. That's so
So
tricky.
it
I'm sure
is.
there's parts of Nashville also, just like in LA, the east side is usually where all the
Yeah,
younger songwriters congregate.
that's kind of what even here. East Nashville is the spot for that. But it's like most creative areas where it becomes kind of a hip spot, and then it gets gentrified into now it's expensive
Mm.
and the cool spot to live, and that's kind of what's happening now in East Nashville.
Hmm.
So
Oh
if you got
man.
there early enough, you could have gotten a deal, but now it's just gonna go up and up and up and up and up.
Yeah.
But
Oh man.
yeah, so anyway, well, yeah, that's just it's interesting. But so back to you. Sorry, you did that show, the release show at Hotel Cafe, and from there just been like, I mean, that was a handful of years ago, right? I mean, that was 2015.
Yeah,
So
that was
tell me about
2015.
the journey from there.
From there, I I played as many shows as I physically could.
Hmm.
I played LA, I played the West Coast. I saved up money and booked my own flights over to Europe and did little European tours. Um, and I released singles after that point because I
Hmm.
realized it was not feasible to record an album. So I still have yet to record a full length album. I've been
Hmm.
doing
The
EPs
singles
and
is smart.
singles.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that way you really get to put your all into one song. It does put a lot of pressure on the song, but I like that, you can really just focus on one thing at a time. I think
Right.
my
And then you're
my
giving a
brain likes
moment to
that.
all your song, right? Yeah, all the
Hmm.
songs that you're releasing instead of here's an album and here's the two focus tracks, and the rest are
Yep.
just there to fill the the
Yeah.
contract or whatever it is.
Yeah. Exactly.
So
And then
you have, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I moved a bit from the folk pop sound, that I had started with, just my ukulele that
Yeah.
I was working with. And I added electric guitar. I started, co-writing with people who played a lot more on the electronic side
Sure, because the
and
new
trying
music
new
is
things.
a lot heavier, like not heavier, but like it's definitely like dancey electronic, especially the
Yeah,
new song. So going
yeah.
from that folky record to now what you're putting on now, like was it just you evolving as an artist?
It was me wanting myself to enjoy performing a bit more because I found that when I was writing these folk songs, I was writing a lot of sad songs on
Mm-hmm.
acoustic instruments. And then I would go perform and I'd have these great audiences who do appreciate sad music, as we've seen. Like, everyone loves a sad song.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but I really wanted to have more energy. I really wanted to dance. I really wanted to have backup singers and have just a full fun show that's really more celebratory than um, more than me reflecting on sad moments in my life. I wanted my live shows to be, I want everyone to leave feeling really good. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that was kind of my switch. Uh, and I've been there for a while. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, maybe I'll go back and, write some sadder music, but it's been really rewarding for me to play more upbeat and positive music because I think my message overall is a very positive one and I like to
Yeah.
focus on, okay, we all feel kind of crappy today. How can we feel a little bit better? What can we focus on that would turn it around?
Sure. Was there
Yeah.
like when you did that as for the first time, like when you put out the first dancier record, was that something that you were concerned about with the fan base that you had, created and built there in Los Angeles? Like, what are they gonna
Yeah.
think of this new
Yeah.
song?
And honestly, they didn't all like it. Some people loved it. Some comments were simply, "This is different. This is new.
Oh, okay.
This is an adjustment." Um, but I think that's one of the beautiful things about being an indie artist is I do have that flexibility where I can put out one genre and then say, "Hey guys, I want to try something different. Thanks for being my fan and a fan of me.
Hmm.
Give this a shot." Um, and luckily, overall, it was a very good response.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah,
And you had a huge song, 2019 with, um, yeah, not a phase.
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, tell me about that. Like when that came out, how did it just? I mean, it has nearly 3.5 million streams on Spotify. Like, was there a moment that kind of took that song to the next level, or when it came out, you just knew it was a hit?
That song was so quick. We really wrote that one in a day. It's just one of those songs that just kind of just comes out.
Mm-hmm.
I had been wanting to write a song about bisexuality because
Mm-hmm.
it's still a very taboo thing in society. If you're familiar with the queer community,
Mm-hmm.
there's a bit of a stigma. So the gay community doesn't fully accept bi people as being part of the community, and
Oh,
the straight community doesn't really think bi people exist. So there's a lot going on there.
yeah.
There's been a
I
lot of
guess I am
growth.
ignorant too. Yeah, I didn't realize that it was on both sides.
Oh yeah, yeah. So it's a
Okay.
very isolating place, and it's
Sure.
very, people say it's a phase. It's people seeking attention. It's temporary. It's experimental, and that's simply not what it is. It's just an attraction to more than one gender. So
Mm-hmm.
it's, you know, that's it. And I was like, how can we simplify this into a empowering song? And I didn't think the song was gonna do very well because I didn't think most people would connect with it, which
Mm-hmm.
most people don't get it. But the bi community, they really got it, and they really appreciated that song. And I wrote it with Jessie Page, who is a really awesome. She was a YouTuber growing up,
Mm-hmm.
and now she's stepped into music. And at that time, she had never written a song. And I
Oh, is that
had,
right? She's just
yeah,
doing YouTube videos.
uh-huh. And she had guitar lessons. She's a great guitar player, but she doesn't really play publicly.
Mm-hmm.
And I messaged her and I was like, we should play. And she was like, yeah, let's write something. Um, and we got together and we came up with a bunch of ideas and crafted that song with a great producer, Evan Blum, and just put it out. It was just supposed to be a YouTube video, just like a fun thing. We weren't even going to release it on Spotify or any of the other platforms.
So it was just like, so you just reached out and said, "Hey, we should write a song." I mean, to reach out to somebody that has, quite a big fan base and to get a
Yeah,
response back, or did you know
that was rare. I
Jesse
was very
prior to that?
surprised. I did
Oh,
not know her. No, I had been recommended to check out her stuff because I was like, I want to follow more queer creators online.
uh-huh.
And I had just come out recently, so I didn't have a queer community in LA. And I had a friend who said, "Oh, well, check out these people online." So he just recommended a few different YouTubers, and I don't know what it was. I was on tour when I had DM'd her, and I was just kind of sitting thinking like, who do I want to make something cool with? And
Hmm.
you just got to shoot your shot, even if they have millions of followers,
Right.
because why not?
That's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, you had recently came out when you tried to get that collaboration with her?
2018, I
Oh,
came out.
wow. So yeah,
Hmm.
because that was a
Yeah.
2019 record. That must have been,
Hmm.
I mean, obviously difficult thing to do.
Yeah, there wasn't. To be honest, like it wasn't my favorite thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Coming out is very uncomfortable.
I would think that that's probably a very, 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 very hard thing to do.
Yeah, and especially with most bisexuals come out later in life because there is that binary thinking that we have that
Oh,
says, well, you're straight or you're gay.
right.
And growing up, I was like, well, I must be straight because I do have an attraction to men, so I must be straight.
Hmm.
Even though I was like, well, I have the same attraction to women, but
Sure.
you know, and it's very common for folks to come out, in their 20s instead of earlier on in high school before that.
Hmm. Interesting. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that song obviously does phenomenal. Did it do well? Was it like YouTube that drove people over to Spotify, or like, do you know how that kind of?
Honestly, I think it was just both separately because people loved the video, and then there were a ton of like user generated playlists created with the song as
Oh, interesting.
well
Okay.
separately. Yeah.
Wow. And so you
Hmm.
see that happening, and then how does that change your, music career? Are more people
Oh
like,
gosh.
honing in on you, or like, how did that change everything for you?
Specifically within like the LGBT music world, I
Okay.
was getting a lot of attention. Um, because before that, of course, for me, all my songs had been written from a queer perspective, but my audience didn't know that because I
Right.
hadn't been out.
Sure.
And so now it was like, oh, well, there's a lot of listeners who would really like to hear from someone with your perspective.
Uh-huh.
And that was really cool because there's also a lot of advocacy work I can do in that space to kind of raise awareness and help educate. Um, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah,
And you ended up putting
it's
out
cool.
a record that year as well, or another EP, right?
Yes, that I Feel
Okay.
Better Now
Yeah.
EP.
Was that something you were working on, and then while Not a Phase was doing something, or was it written pretty similar time span? Or tell me about that in relation to that song.
I Feel Better Now came out. Uh, I had been writing it after I came out,
Right.
and I was having a very hard time. And I did not want to write a sad song. I did not want to sit in a lot of these bad feelings that I was going through. Even though I recognize now, like there is a space for those times when you just need to go through it. Like sometimes you just have to have a bad day. Sometimes you just gotta like get it out.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes life is just really like it's okay. You can be sad for a while. Sometimes that happens. Um, but I was at a point where I was just like, I just want to put out some positivity. I just want to get some really upbeat, feel good songs out there for my audience because most of my audience at that time were young LGBT, like youth
Mm-hmm.
listening to my music now.
Mm-hmm.
And they were sending me messages about how hard it was for them, going to school, making friends, coming out to their family, and it was a lot, and it was a bit overwhelming for me.
Oh yeah, I would
Yeah,
imagine people, especially because now you're in the spotlight, and new listeners and new people are going to be coming to you and not venting, but trying to look to you for advice or, you know,
Mhm.
obviously empathy and everything else, like that would be a lot to kind of take on.
Definitely. And of course, I just wanted to be as helpful as possible. So I just kept thinking, okay, how can I be the most helpful? And I thought, okay, let's write some songs that make people feel good and make people
Mhm.
feel better. And that's how I feel better now. The EP came from me.
Started. Wow.
Hmm.
I love your song Roller Coaster and the lyric about the Halsey concert. And I'm like, and that just stuck with me because I just like literally just saw her like a couple weeks ago on the tour that the
Oh
tour
no
she's doing
way!
now.
Oh, how
Yeah.
was it?
Oh, it's one of the best shows I had ever seen, to be honest.
Oh wow. Oh, that's
Yeah,
great.
uh, uh I think Hollywood Bowl. Halsey's doing the same show, the Hollywood Bowl.
Okay.
You should go. It's
Yeah,
epic.
she's one of my favorites. You
Do
know,
you like
she's
that new record?
I
The
do. It's
the one that has like that Trent Reznor produced?
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I like all of her stuff. It's all very different. Some of it's very intense.
Hmm.
Um, but she's very intense, you
Oh
know?
yeah.
So,
Very intense.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
I mean, it was such a cool show. She did a painting during the show, like during a song, did a whole painting. And I guess
Oh, that's awesome.
at the end of the tour, they're auctioning off all the dates, all the paintings.
Oh, wow.
I
Oh, that's
know.
great.
I wonder what they're gonna go for.
I love that.
I
Yeah.
know. They're huge canvases. It looks so cool. So I'm like,
Oh, that's
huh.
awesome.
I don't know how many thousands of dollars they're going to cost, but I would recommend going. It was great. But that song, when I heard that, I was like, oh my gosh, like that's so funny. I just like literally seen her like last month.
Oh, I'm so glad you like that.
Yeah.
Funny thing about that song is it was about my first girlfriend
Hmm.
and like my first very long term girlfriend. And now that girlfriend, what's her name? But she's playing guitar for Halsey as of
No way.
as of a few months ago, and I was just like, oh, that's. I was like, I wonder if she heard the song, because
That's so
yeah, I
funny.
just was like, what a small world.
I will say, I don't think she plays on this tour unless she's playing on the record or something for her because there
No,
was
no,
an
she's.
old dude that was playing guitar,
Oh
an
yeah,
old kind
there's two guitars. There's a yeah.
old chubby guy.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't remember seeing a female up on the stage. Maybe.
Oh. No,
No, there's a
she's
drummer.
there. She's there.
Huh. Okay.
Drummer, two guitars.
Interesting. Okay, I'd have to rewatch it.
Maybe it's specific dates.
Ah.
But I just saw a few posts about it, and I was just like,
Okay.
oh,
Never
yeah,
mind.
yeah.
Okay.
No, no, I'm sure.
Like I said, I don't recall the. I remember her band being very small, and I'm like, oh, that's cool.
She does, yeah, she does keep a small band. That's for
Um,
sure.
but
Because she takes up a
that's.
lot of space on that stage, you know?
Oh yeah, she's such a big personality.
Yeah. I remember the first time I saw her, like everyone in the audience was like, she's like Justin Bieber, but like a female version. And it was just because she was just so good, just her and a mic the whole time, just running back and forth. And
Mhm. Yeah,
um,
she did. I come from radio. I did radio for like a long time, 17 years. And when I was on the radio in San Francisco, it was when New Americana was on the radio, and
oh yeah,
Halsey came by the radio station, and yeah, she just had this big baggy sweatshirt on, and just her hair was just down. Just it was such a different vibe than obviously now where she's at. But it was just funny. Just it's crazy to see
that
some of those people that
transformation.
come in. Yeah, because I mean, so many artists come through the radio stations. It's so many like just because you make it to that point, I mean, that's great. But to be at her, or to be Halsey is such a different jump than just somebody that was playing on the radio. And to see that transformation happen, it's just so cool to watch
Yeah.
that. Like it's like, whoa, of all people, that wouldn't have been the artist I would have said, oh, Halsey's going to be the one of the biggest artists on the planet here in
Totally.
3 or 4 years or whatever it was.
I think most people were really surprised by how
Hmm.
she took off and also like the longevity of her career so far. It's
Uh-huh.
just been incredible. She's
Yeah, the new
just
single's so good. Have you listened to that? It's called So Good, and it is so good.
oh no, I saw the post about it.
It's great. It's a
I
great
haven't sat
song.
down and listened. Yeah, I was
Recommend it.
following all the TikTok drama around it.
Oh, is there TikTok drama? See, I don't.
Oh, you didn't see that?
No, I'm not
Yeah,
a very big TikToker.
I believe she's with Warner. I'm actually not positive, but she had
Interscope.
Interscope.
Uh-huh.
Okay. She was making a TikTok about how her label wouldn't let her release her new single unless she found a TikTok, like a viral moment for the song. So she was
Oh,
upset. And a lot of people were like, oh, this is the viral moment. This is how she's getting
right. Okay,
traction. She's just,
exactly.
yeah.
Complaining about the label.
Yeah.
Oh, funny.
Um, it was funny. And then she was like, okay, they're going to let me put it out now.
Interesting. Oh, so
So
that song hadn't came
interesting.
out yet, and then it was okay. That's funny.
Yeah.
I need it. I'm gonna look for that. That's really really funny.
Yeah. And a lot of indie artists responded to it as well.
Oh no, she
So,
is on Warner. It's Capital, or she's on Universal. It's Capital.
okay. Yeah, I think she
Okay.
must have been on Interscope or something else before, though, because that sounded
Okay.
right too.
Yeah, I
Um,
don't. But Capital anyway. Anyway, enough
mhm.
about Halsey. So I want to hear about this new song. But yeah, that the one roller coaster song. I heard that lyric. I was like, oh, that's so cool. Um,
Yeah, true
but
story.
anyway, yeah. So tell me about the new song. And actually, I forgot to say something to you about like, are you? I did see your post about not being able to play Pride. Are you feeling better?
Oh my goodness. It finally got me. Yes, I am feeling
Yeah.
better.
Okay.
Uh, I am, I just finished my quarantine, but I was so heartbroken to have to cancel my Pride show because it was so cool. Like Pride is always the best because there's so many people from so many different backgrounds just
Mm-hmm.
out and just celebrating equality, just, having a good time. And it would have been my biggest show. There were just thousands and thousands and thousands of people. Um, but also, I'm very happy for my health, very happy to be feeling better now, and there were so many other amazing artists out there on stage, having a great time. So I'm very glad that the celebration was a success, even if I had to stay home and miss out.
Okay. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, it did. I think did Jordy? Do you know Jordy, the artist Jordy? I think he played it. He's a good friend of ours from our show, and I saw some crazy photos
Oh,
from Pride, but I
awesome.
think it might have been maybe it was New York Pride. Was
Oh,
that one
okay.
recently too?
Yeah,
I can't
that
remember.
one as
But
well.
I thought he did LA. He's from LA, so it would have made sense. But yeah, you did that post, and it was like anytime you see a post-it note, you know it's like a bad, a bad
Yeah.
thing. And I was like, that's so brilliant.
It's
But
so
yeah,
true.
but that's so unfortunate. Yeah, that sucks that you weren't able to do it. But is that your dog in the video? You're like, we got to have our own little parade at home. Is that the dog that
Yes.
was chewing? The
Uh-huh.
little white
Yeah.
one?
That's
Okay.
Carrot. Yeah.
How funny.
Yeah, he got dressed up for Pride at home too.
That's awesome.
Hmm.
Well, so yeah, just tell me about I want to hear about your new song. Don't it feels good? And yeah, what else you have going on?
Yeah, so this song was bound to be a summer release because it's just so upbeat and like
Oh yeah.
very, very, like for me, it was a very simplified song in terms of songwriting. I wasn't telling a super personal story. I wasn't going into details. It's very much a song that's like, go have fun, like let go, allow yourself to be a little bit more spontaneous. I think we've all felt pretty cooped up the last couple years, and at least in LA, it's been like you have to wear a mask. You can't like don't wear a mask. Stay inside. Don't stay
Right.
inside.
Yeah.
It's been just like so on and off, and so hard for artists and all creatives to book gigs and kind of carry on. So this song was about just getting just giving yourself a break and like, okay, go for it, go travel, go see the world, um, just have a little bit more fun and just like enjoy that, even if it's very fleeting or temporary. Just like take those little moments and enjoy them.
I love it. I love it. And do you have that? Obviously, that's the newest one that you just put out. But are
Mm-hmm.
you working on like a bigger project? Or are you staying in the single thing like we were discussing earlier?
So I have started working on an own like a personal project, that I hope to be an album, but I will be continuing to release singles, uh, throughout the year.
Hmm.
But it has been very therapeutic for me to also work on more of a long term project like an album, because as an indie artist, you really don't have anyone telling you what you need to release next. And I think just for my career, I was like, I would really like to write a full album. I don't care if anyone listens to it front to back. It's just something I've been working on, and
Mm-hmm.
it's really nice. It's really nice to have that for myself, in in addition to the singles that I'll be releasing.
Very cool. Well,
Yeah,
thank you
yeah,
so much for doing this, Lucy. This has been awesome.
yeah. Thank you so much for having me. It's really nice to chat. Nice to catch up.
Yeah. I do have one more question. I want to know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
Of course. Oh my gosh, I have so much. But the first one would be to go with your instincts in every single situation. Uh, if you're an aspiring artist, you're probably doing a lot of your own research. You're probably looking online for answers. You're probably asking other people what they've done. And the thing about really moving forward in your creative career is allowing yourself to follow your instincts and follow kind of like your bliss, like where things feel good, that's where you should go. So don't force yourself, don't force yourself to play hundreds of live shows a year because you saw someone else do it and they're successful if you're not enjoying it, if it's not feeling good, if it doesn't feel like it's moving the needle. Basically, you kind of have to find your own way, and that takes a lot of courage. So just listen to your instincts, trust your gut, and um, you know, you'll find it.